Purple Daly is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All these opposing teams trying to poach smart people from the Vikings. We're going to get into some of the latest news from the weekend. We are very caught up in Vikings-Lions and the aftermath, but there's been a lot of news coming out the last 72 hours that we're going to get to here. Couple shout-outs first. Let's start with Roku TV. Roku TV back with us in 2025. We appreciate number one streaming platform in America. And now they have a new line of smart TVs with Roku built into the Roku TV. All the games you'd want, or last night, all the wrestling you would want, all the basketball. Visit Sports on your Roku home screen to browse live and upcoming games. All the channels you need to follow your favorite team, favorite sport, all season long. The new Roku Pro Series 4K TV, which we have one in our living room as of September, is incredible. Roku.com to learn more or shop at a retailer near you. Also, the official sports bar of the Sports Dad, Park Tavern in St. Louis Park. Great spot for group gatherings and watching playoff football.
Yep. In fact, I was there Christmas Eve bowling party. Now, Sports Dad does not bowl. He's retired. But you know what it was?
Did you put the shoes on, or did you go in socks?
I did not bowl, so I did not have to get the shoes. I did not have to get the shoes. But if you went to Park Tavern and wanted to bowl, bowling party, big group, guess what? They've got everything that you could possibly need. They've got 2 bars. They've got bowling. They've got trivia a couple of times a week. And if you want to watch the big game there, your team, guess what? Park Tavern can put that game on. You know why? Because they're basically Disneyland for adults. That's right. Everything that you could possibly want.
I mean, Disneyland, I will say, in defense of Disneyland, is for adults, too.
For adults.
Yeah.
It's honestly, in my opinion, it's jumped the shark.
It's more for adults,
okay.
probably. Yeah.
Okay. It's an amusement park for adults. How about that? Park Tavern. I'll just say amusement park for adults. Adult beverages. You got Goofy. You got Mick. No, actually, you don't. You only have a great place to hang out. Park Tavern, located at Louisiana Avenue South and Highway 7, St. Louis Park, the official sports bar of Sports Dad. Find out for yourself, and you might even see the Sports Dad sitting at the end of the bar.
I didn't know Declan had a bag of Disney impressions. Just sitting there.
Deck's got some impressions.
Yeah.
He's got Chris Collinsworth and then 6 Disney characters, apparently.
You got a couple impressions. Yeah. What would Goofy and Chris Collinsworth sound like in two-man?
Oh, God, I don't think I can. Because Collinsworth, you got to go down here, and Goofy's all the way up here. I can't. I don't think I can do both.
3-man booth. Tirico, Goofy, and Collinsworth.
Disney Plus, write that down. That's probably a legitimate thing.
The next streaming show right there.
Awesome.
So let's go through a few different things here. I think we're going to get a dud stable at some point on this episode. I don't know. It's possible that our guy Randy in Kaiser Grove has just been in a dark room for 48 hours. Oh, God. But teams trying to poach coaches from the Vikings. Jay Glazer with crazy reckless speculation. Let's start here. Adam Schefter floated kind of early in the weekend that Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, and Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores are considered 3 of the top head coaching candidates heading into the upcoming hiring cycle. You probably throw those 3 guys in a bin with Mike Vrabel getting a lot of interest and a couple others. And now we're seeing the Jets have scheduled 14 different interviews. The Jaguars just put out a list of, I don't know. By the way, Flores is on the Jets list. The Jaguars put out a list of 8 guys. So teams are now full on identifying targets here. But as of yesterday, the Bears have requested a head coaching interview with Brian Flores. The Jets have requested a head coaching interview with Brian Flores and quarterbacks coach Josh McCown.
That's a sneaky, interesting one.
Very sneaky. And the Jets also requested to speak with Vikings senior vice president of player personnel, Ryan Grigson, who's kind of Kwesi's right-hand man from a football scouting perspective. Kwesi more rooted in analytics and his background as a trader. So the Vikings are impressive enough to be getting poked at by other teams here. There's only 5 head coaching openings right now, which is, I think, fewer than most people expected. We're still early on. It's Black Monday week. It's Black Monday season.
Right, we could get,
at any time.
The Cowboys job, you don't know.
Well, that's another crazy side street. That Mike McCarthy is a free agent in like a week.
Yes.
Which never happens,
and
especially when you
talk to him.
The Bears, and I think I feel like there was another team too, but the Bears for sure said, "Hey, can we'd like to request permission," which is genius because Mike McCarthy doesn't have to re-sign with the Cowboys if he feels like it's a cluster bleep operation.
Right.
This is the Bears' way of saying, "Don't sign a contract.
Right.
We'd love to talk to you whenever you're available." So, but what do you make of Brian Flores getting a couple requests, Bears and Jets? And we'll start with the coaching side and Josh McCown, Jets.
I think the McCown one to me is the most intriguing just because he played there. Two, he's clearly really well respected because if you go back to like 3 years ago or 3 years back, the Houston Texans actually wanted to talk to him. And there were reports that the Texans actually wanted to hire him as coach, but there was pressure not to because the dude was just playing quarterback. He comes from a side of the ball that, one, I think teams, if nothing else, probably want to talk to him to pick his brain because he's very well respected, but he's been here, right, with O'Connell, and there's a lot that's gone on here from a quarterback standpoint that's positive. So I think that is a sneaky, interesting one. The Flores one makes perfect sense. Now, the question there is, do you want to go with a defensive guy? And the Jets are coming from a defensive guy previously. So my guess is that they're going to go offense. The Bears are super intriguing because they offer the opportunity to work with a first overall draft pick quarterback in Caleb. I don't know if Flores is going to get a job. He's still suing the league. That's going to cause some problems. But I do think he's become far more of a viable candidate than we thought he probably could while suing the league because of the success and what teams have seen. Because the Vikings defense has gone from being, really nice reclamation project last year to being damn good. So I think Flores, there's still going to be some probably hangups there. But if you guys recall last year, Flores, 0 interview requests. Now he's got 2. I also wonder, to come back to this, how much at the end of the day is what Tua said about him going to be a problem still? Because Tua, and Brian Flores, to his credit, first press conference after that, talked about it openly, said, "I've learned a lot," sounded really convincing. But nonetheless, to have had a quarterback basically rip you apart up and down for your development of that player, I think that was a left hook that no one saw coming.
I actually think the way that it's not ideal that a quarterback came out and said those things. But then all the eyes turned toward Brian Flores. Okay, how is he going to react? Is he going to deny it? Is he going to dodge or sidestep? The way he answered those questions and just took it all on the chin, on the chest, and said, "Yeah, it hurts to hear that." And I've done a lot of reflecting. He's talked about the year he spent with Mike Tomlin, who is one of the. Now I think there's a lot of Pittsburgh fans making noise that they're kind of sick of the Mike Tomlin era. I would be careful what you wish for, Pittsburgh. You have more of a quarterback problem than you do, I think, a head coaching problem. But Mike Tomlin, one of the great culture builders and communicators in the NFL, and Flores raved about what he learned from Mike Tomlin being really the CEO of an operation as opposed to being just a coach. Like Mike Zimmer was a coach. He wasn't really a CEO of an operation. And you can win a lot of games with that, but there's a shelf life. Kevin O'Connell, much more of a CEO, culture builder type guy. And Flores gets to learn from him for the last couple of years too. So I think spending 3 years with Tomlin and with Kevin O'Connell, the big jump in defense from where Ed Donatel had it to where Flores has it right now, does it mean he's going to be successful because he learned? Not necessarily. Would I be a little careful if I were the Bears putting him with, because Caleb Williams is still very young, very raw, inexperienced. Personality can be a little quirky. Would he drive Brian Flores crazy? I almost feel like Flores needs a little more of an established quarterback situation.
Sure.
Like if the Jaguars don't have him on their list, but you got Trevor Lawrence who needs some more molding, but at least he's been around for 5 years at this point, and you can kind of just hire a good offensive coordinator. I'd be a little careful if I were Flores going into like a Caleb Williams situation. But also, how many opportunities you're going to get to cash in. This might be his best chance to leverage where he's at to get another head coaching job.
Absolutely, but as we talked about yesterday, this also would be strike two. Like it's a fine dance here because, like, yes, there's only 32 of these jobs available, but once you've gone somewhere, and in Brian Flores' case, he did not fail, but he definitely got a bad rap. Now he also clearly wouldn't go through with the ownership scheme of trying to lose games, so like that's not on him. But I do think, like with the Jets or the Bears, if it fails there, you're probably done.
The Jets, I would not touch the Jets if I were him. Would you guys? Like the Jets, especially because it's your second, if that would be your second strike, well, that is a setup to fail situation. And Rodgers is 40, and I don't know,
the Bears are tough too because the Bears have, I like their personnel. They potentially have a really good QB, but from a front office standpoint and structure, the Bears have a ton of question marks too. So like that's the thing is it's almost like Brian Flores needs to go somewhere where there's some stability. For instance, the Vikings. Like as screwed up as the Vikings were or it felt in 21 after Zim got fired, you know, the Vikings had a lot of things structure-wise to like. I think the problem with the Jets and Bears, I think it's the same thing. The ownership's a problem. Like the Wilfs have never been a problem. The Jets, Woody Johnson's a maniac. And the Bears, the McCaskies are just sort of, what are you doing?
I'd actually argue, though, post the Tua comments, like Brian Flores' stock is higher than Tua and the Dolphins' stock. Like those words at the time when Tua came out, like were a big punch down onto Brian. Flores punched right back and is now for the second year in a row built up a defense. Now he has much more of his players and has much more of a resume. He's turned Andrew Van Ginkel into a guy who's getting potentially Defensive Player of the Year votes. He took around a defense that has old cornerbacks and it made him at least serviceable. I'd actually argue there are more questions and more concerns about Tua being a legitimate quarterback than it is Brian Flores being a legitimate head coach. Those comments for sure are going to be vetted by another team, but Brian Flores' stock is higher than what Tua said at that moment before the season started.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that being true changes Brian Flores being unable to work with a young blossoming quarterback. Like
it's not like
I was right, and it's like no, you ruined a really important relationship, and
like Caleb is to your point, he's sort of a unusual personality. Like Tua is probably the same, right? And yes, Tua, Dex is right. He has not achieved what people expected. But that being said, it's the fact that a player, a young quarterback who had to be groomed, basically came out and said, the guy screwed me left and right.
Yeah, it's the red flag is more. Again, the red flag is maybe Flores was right. That Tua is kind of soft and this and that and the other. But at the end of the day, it's like he is your quarterback, and you do need to maintain a relationship. On the Ryan Grigson front, so he is the Vikings senior vice president of player personnel. He was the general manager with the Colts during the Andrew Luck era. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who cover the Colts and fans of the Colts point squarely at Ryan Grigson for being unable to put an offensive line in front of Andrew Luck and to build that roster up around a generational talent, ultimately driving Andrew Luck out of the NFL. I think it's probably unfair to lump all of it on Ryan Grigson, but he took a lot of heat for that. But he comes to Minnesota the last couple of years. All right, Kwesi does not have a football background, so he needs a right-hand man that can help him navigate his first GM job. Ryan Grigson comes in, and teams have taken notice of what the Vikings have done with the pro player personnel side. The drafts have been a little suspect, but the off-season work and the molding of this roster has been unquestionably great. Mm-hmm. So the Jets have looked over and said, all right, we'll maybe give Ryan Grigson a second chance. So, Judd, you've been like really hard on Ryan Grigson on this show the last couple of years. But I will say it's hard to know how the sausage is made fully because we're not behind the scenes. We're not in these meeting rooms. But he is the main football man next to Kwesi. And the Vikings have made a lot of really good football personnel decisions, especially in free agency and a couple via trade the last couple of years. So I think Grigson deserves a lot of credit just on the outside looking in. I don't think he's this liability that people, for the Vikings anyways, that people thought where his stock was at after they ran him out of Indianapolis. So your thoughts?
I think he's a very, very well cast character right now. The Colts stuff, him being in charge, well, and look, it would be very Jets-like to be like, hey, the secondary guy with the Vikings is great. He'll come here and be great. But there's a lot of stuff. I mean, the fact that you didn't build an offensive line that was sufficient to protect Andrew Luck is in itself a huge red flag. You know, I think the Vikings have a pretty good system. I think they have a lot of smart people. And I think Grigson in his lane appears to have done a nice job. Now, we don't know exactly what he does. Like, it's not like we've got chapter and verse on roles here. And so I'm sure that there are other football people who are instrumental as well in Kwesi making decisions.
It's collaborative. It's collaborative. It's a collaboration.
Exactly right. But my point is, I would use, if this was a court case and Ryan Grigson was on trial, with the reward being the Jets' job, which of course is death. If I was in that court, I would enter into evidence his time in charge of the Colts, because to me that becomes very, very important. And we don't know what the checks and balances at TCO are, but my guess is there are checks and balances that I don't think I would trust Grigson not to have those.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to get some calls and definitely deserves probably a second chance of what he's been able to do with the Vikings. I did find it interesting when I think it was Zach Kiefer who made the Andrew Luck doc with The Athletic, the 4-part audio series like 2 years ago now, just kind of detailing Luck's rise and then exit from the NFL. And legitimately, everyone from that Colts organization spoke on that podcast. Teammates, Pagano, other people. Everyone said yes to that interview except for Ryan Grigson. Grigson was the only one to deny. And he doesn't have to go on there. I'm not using that as a strike against him, but he's well aware of the part he played in kind of making Andrew Luck retire from the NFL. But yes, he's probably a very good supporting actor, to Judd's point there, and like being the hand holder for Kwesi to lean on when I am collaborating and I'm using maybe more stock and analytic background. How can I lean this on a football guy? But I guess to wrap this up, I wouldn't be shocked if Grigson got a GM job again. I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Don't forget, too, the Jets are clearly pumping people for information as well. You don't request to talk to this large of group unless you're going to try to learn what they've learned in their current employment. So like when you see a list with like, I want to talk to 8 head coaching candidates, that doesn't mean that you want to hire them all. That often means that you've got 3 that you like, but you got 5, Brian Flores, Josh McCown, right? They're perfect as far as, okay, what did you learn there? What does O'Connell do there? Why are you improved? What did they teach you? Like, you have to come to these things really well prepared, like with a huge binder of, like, this is my plan.
Yeah, you got to give away information if you want the job.
And they're going to steal it. So, like, that's the thing about this, too, is it's not always, we love that guy. It's, that team's had success. I wonder why. And yes, as Declan just did, windy fingers go out at that point. You're right.
Yeah. Let's get to the Jay Glazer thing here.
Reckless speculation.
We've kind of brushed on this, but on Sunday during the Fox pregame show, and Jay Glazer tweeted out the clip on his own too to amplify it even more. So this is part of his tweet. A surprise candidate on multiple teams' head coaching candidates list. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. He has 1 year remaining on his deal after the season, and a few teams have an interest in possibly trying to trade for him. It's been noted that the Vikings and KOC's representation have basically not had discussions at all during the season, which could also just be, if I'm Kevin, I want to focus on coaching. And if I'm in the middle of a 9, 10, 11, soon to be 14-win season, no rush. The more wins you rack up, the more valuable you become. But I don't know. I think this is the most absurd. We love reckless speculation here. We love crazy theories, Sometimes we're accused of being clickbaity on this show and at Score North. A lot of the things that we talk about, though, either A, actually come to fruition and happen, or B, get talked about. Remember, we had Grigson Rosas on the old podcast, might have been the old radio show, Mackie and Judd, like a handful of years ago.
Those were the days.
And the old Timberwolves general manager.
Polo.
We're still Instagram friends, by the way.
Are you?
Nice.
Nice.
Gers. Yeah.
Gerson did a good job.
Yeah, liking
Some
each
behind the
other's
scenes
stuff.
stuff.
And he came on one time. We said, "Hey, like, how much crap do you guys talk about behind the scenes? And of that stuff, the trade stuff, what percentage does it actually get to a phone call with someone?" And he goes, "Oh, you would be shocked at the amount of. We have discussions about everything,
And yeah, this is
like
correct.
everything." He goes, 95% of it goes nowhere, but everything gets talked about. So, wouldn't be shocking if a team picked up the phone and was like, "Well, this dude's not even under contract beyond next season."
Right.
But the NFL, to me, I don't think you can trade a first-round pick after like 3 years down the road. There's not enough first-round picks available legally within NFL trade parameters to make this a realistic conversation.
So let's deconstruct this, though, because I also saw immediate tweets. Glazer's making this up. He decided Sunday morning. He woke up and chose to make up news, fake news.
Feeling dangerous.
Yeah. Let's deconstruct this because I feel like there's confusion here. First of all, Jay Glazer did not make this up. Okay. Number one, it's not going to happen. I acknowledge that fully. Number two, to go back to Gerson's point, has anybody called the Vikings to see? Of course they have. They called about Justin Jefferson. Hey, his contract's expiring. He's not signed yet. Why not? Of course you're going to call. Why wouldn't you call? So number one, this happened. But the most important question, point 3, is this. Who told Glazer this?
Yeah.
Because the call is coming from probably inside the house.
Think the Vikings told him?
The Vikings aren't going to leak this to him.
Okay.
The team that called on O'Connell, why would they leak this? Quite frankly, I think it comes from O'Connell's camp. And I think it comes from Trace Armstrong, his agent. Because here's my question. Why not? Why not? Kevin O'Connell didn't get an extension before the season, and I don't care what anyone says. There's no question, even with a year left on his contract, I'm sure he was slightly offended. Hey, I won, 13 games first year here? Yeah, we went 7-9 in 2023, but I still did a pretty good job. We had some problems, and now you're going to allow me to coach, through this year and then presumably, which now won't take place, possibly go into my lame duck year? What's going on here? Trace Armstrong now says, hold on. We're in a position to get Andy Reid type of money. $20 million. You got that type of money coming. Why not leak this out? You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, because it's like, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But you also know that you can drive his value up even more. That, oh man, the walls.
And now you're creating.
The walls are closing in.
And now you're also, by getting this out in the public, you're creating this. They can't let him go. This is ridiculous. He can't be gone. So you're applying public pressure now.
Yeah. And KOC was asked about this, and he gave a respectful answer. But yeah, you got it. I mean,
I know. Yes.
It was literally one of them. And people can make fun of Jay Glazer or whatever, but Jay Glazer is on the current Mount Rushmore of NFL insiders. He is literally working out at his MMA gym with active NFL players and executives and coaches.
He knows more people personally than like a Schefter does.
But he only reports probably 3% of what he actually knows. So when something gets out, there's an agenda for it. There's a reason for it. And I mean, hell, this might have even been a favor. Hey, can you float this?
I think
this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I think this was leaked, and then it's a great little scoop. But yes, I think it's 100% a favor to the O'Connell camp. It only helps their leverage.
The only way this would ever be a possibility is if Kevin didn't want to be here anymore, and he reassured everyone, "I love it here." I would take this report more seriously in terms of like, could it actually happen if you were allowed to gather more than 3 consecutive first-round picks in a trade? Because I do think if there were unlimited, if you could just trade unlimited picks, if there was no parameters on it,
right?
That's a fun discussion that we touched on with Doogie like a month and a half ago on a scoop session. Is what is the actual value of having one of the best head coaches and culture builders in the NFL that you're paying outside of your salary cap structure. That's the thing. Like, Andy Reid is a cheat code, A, because he's awesome, and B, because you can pay him as much as you need to. It doesn't hamper your roster building. It's outside the salary cap structure. But what would it be? And then if Kevin didn't have a J.J. McCarthy and Sam, he loves these quarterbacks, and Sam Darnold, they've got a really good roster. I think he loves the ownership. There's so many bad ownership situations, and some guys are just looking for their first coaching job. But when you're Kevin, you can be choosy going forward. So, but just for fun, let's pose this one more time. How many first-round picks would it take for you to even entertain this?
Well,
if there was no parameters and no rules.
I honestly I know this is crazy, 10. I'm not trading this guy.
Not crazy, I know.
I'm not trading him.
But here's why teams would call, and it makes sense to call. If the Vikings, and I don't think that this will be a problem, but let's say the Vikings were like, we're drawing a line in the sand on Kevin's payday. So like, we'll pay him 10, we'll pay him 12. And he's like, I need 20 plus now. Then you would probably take about 2 to 3 first round picks, but it won't be a problem. They'll pay.
They would never.
But if you were to say
crazy
that,
thing to balk at.
But if you were to say, hey, you know what? But I'm sure there are some teams that would balk. So if a team balked and said, Kevin, we'll pay you $14 million, and he's like, I can get 22 now. What are you talking about? Then you would probably trade him for like 2 to 3 first round picks.
Yeah.
But it's just like the Jefferson thing. Teams called because his contract was nearing an end, and teams are like, why not call?
The Vikings,
so this whole thing about they would never, this never happened. It's like, yeah, it did happen. And it goes to the point of teams make phone calls all the time. Yeah. They don't want him to get out. It's not like the Jets called and then called Glaze and said, hey, Glaze, we just called on O'Connell.
And also, like, Jay Glazer has a treasure trove of information based on how plugged it. He doesn't get to that Sunday morning show thinking, oh my God, I got nothing. I got nothing.
I got no notes.
So as wild as it seems, because it's never going to happen, it's interesting that it got out that way. And I think Judd's theory is correct. Sorry, Dex, go ahead.
He's even talked about before when he's gone on Levitard about the structure of how he goes into that Sunday hit and that scoops, because he does have a treasure trove of things. And what do I want to hold on? And what can I hold on to get an exclusive, but also know like I could get poached on this? So the whole dynamics, again, the windy fingers of who told me this, why is this happening, like that goes into the reporting and all the insighting that he is doing behind the scenes on that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And also the Vikings, right on draft night, it got out, they called on Justin Herbert, didn't they? Wasn't that a big thing on our draft night?
They called on Stafford, it turned out too.
Yeah, Stafford too. So yes, these calls happen.
Well, and we're Glazer and Schefter now. So before Glazer, he got real sick like 5 years ago. Yeah. And before that, it was like Rappaport, Glazer, and Schefter were all competing for scoops. Now it's become Schefter and Rappaport are much more transactional. Like they're looking for scoops, but they're way more transactional. Glazer, to Phil's point, like works out with guys. So his scoops are not transactional. They are relationship based.
Yeah. And they also seem to be a little juicier in
because
nature.
Of that. Well, yeah, because he's got an agenda for them.
Yeah.
His buddies, like, I guarantee you, he probably knows Trace Armstrong well. Mm-hmm. And Trace like, hey, Jay, I got something for you. He's like, what? A team called on O'Connell.
That's how he says it too.
And we both love KOC, right? The guy's freaking awesome. Let's get him a couple extra $1 million. Let's float this out.
I once saw Glazer in Childress' first year in 2006. The Vikings are practicing in training camp in Blakesley Stadium in Mankato, and we aren't allowed near the stadium. Like we're up in the stands watching practice, and who comes with his suitcase, wheeling it through the track, and gives Steve Hutchinson a big hug? Glaze does.
He hangs out on the sideline.
Yes.
He just walks right past security.
The best Glazer story of all time is that same camp. He takes Childress' golf cart, which, by the way, on the front says Coach Childress, to Boomtown, parks it there. Let's just say has a few beverages. So he walks back, and they're like, hey, where's Brad's golf cart? In front of Boomtown.
Just still sitting there.
The Vikes are like, that's not a good idea.
Was it still there the next morning, or did
No,
somebody
they went.
manage
I
to get
think
it back
PR
to
went.
Gage
I think
Hall?
PR went and got the
Some
golf
poor
cart.
intern had to sprint over to Boomtown
Yes.
to go.
It's like it looks like Childress is getting hammered in Boomtown.
Oh my gosh. So Jay Glazer, nice work on some crazy reckless speculation that will never happen.
Reckless speculation.
So there are some things. I think what we'll do is we'll park this either for tomorrow or Thursday, because we know our guy Thor loves to fight these takes on the internet about the Vikings quarterback situation.
Oh God.
But like Florio chimed in, I think there's like a bigger space to explore some of the new opinions coming in about the Vikings quarterback situation. So we'll put a pin in that and
Take it offline?
circle back, maybe take it offline and bring it back online.
Oh boy.
But
can't wait for the
hey,
meeting.
Prize Picks is online, and it's a really fun way to follow along with playoff football. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks, and it's really easy. You select between 2 and 6 players. You pick more or less on their projected stats, and boom, you submit your. So last week, bunch of player incentives, right? Like Mike Evans needed 85 yards to get to 1,000 for a $3 million bonus. And I saw that Prize Picks had him at 69.5 yards. More. So that was kind of a fun weekend last weekend. Now you get Super Wild Card Weekend. It's a really slick interface right here, Prize Picks. You just go on there. You see the more or the less as I'm holding up for the YouTube audience. Super, super easy. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code Purple Daily. Get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code Purple Daily on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks. Run your game. MSP Plumbing and Heating running their game, Judd.
And doing a fantastic job. And so I started to talk about this last week, but one of the most important words at MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air is commitment. That's because for over a century, families have relied on them for all their plumbing, drains, heating, and cooling needs. As a 100% family-owned and operated business, MSP is committed to taking care of your family. Right now, for instance, get $50 off any HVAC or plumbing repair. And of course, the commitment right now is incredibly important because it's that time of year when it's cold outside. If something goes wrong with the furnace, that has to be taken care of immediately. So give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check out their website. Very simple. Call MSP.com. Call MSP.com. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air. There when you need them.
Also, shout out North American Banking Company supporting Purple Daily in 2025. Locally based. They're very invested in the Twin Cities. They've been delivering a better banking experience, 6 locations across the Twin Cities since 1998. I had an experience with a big national bank that shall go nameless here. If I were really feeling frisky, I'd name them because the experience was so bad. And we needed to talk to a human. It took forever. And then their communication digitally was a disaster. Personal relationships, cutting-edge online tools, and a locally based banking company. That's what you get in North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more. nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. He is the most passionate Vikings fan we know. You can find him on Twitter or X at Randy Vikes 69. He's Randy in Cottage Grove. How have you been these last 48 hours, Randy?
Salty.
Yeah.
Upset, disappointed, frustrated, angry, all the things that you might expect from someone who bought in on everything that we saw. 9 in a row. It should have been all the way kept going in a row. We shouldn't have been doing a dud stable, but KOC got embarrassed.
Are you out now? I mean, you sound like you're damn near out on the Vikings.
No, but I'm doing what I hope those guys should be doing is what they call circle the wagons.
Mm.
Yeah. We I don't know. I've told you guys that for some of these games where we the establishment that we go to, they do what they call touchdown shots, and we didn't get any, not one.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get rowdy and get loud when no, that no one's putting those little plastic cups out, filling them up because we're not getting in the end zone. And when JJ was streaking open in the back right corner, that's what they call a layup. That's a junior high throw. That's a JV throw. Sam was all geeked up. You got this called the yips.
I mean, I call it the yips. Offensive line was contributing there.
They were bad too. There was this Swiss cheese, and Darisaw, get your ass out there. Where are you? How many weeks has it been now?
Knee sort of torn up, Randy. I don't think he can.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back until next year.
Alan Hutchinson hurt his knee, and he just said if Detroit happens to back their ass into the Super Bowl, he's gonna play. So sometimes you got it with who's got to give a damn.
You know what? After thinking about this, I'm with Randy. How bad do you want it, Christian Darisaw?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Do you want to win a Super Bowl?
You're
get your ass out there.
Never going to be closer, Christian. And
put a brace on. Yeah.
He already had the procedure. I mean, how long is it going to take? This is, there's a lot of people who Kirk Gibson, for example. Remember him? He was a stud, and he went out there
on a Randy. Long time ago.
Yeah, that's when men were men, and he went out there and he hit it. He hit it in the stands he was gimpy. He was hurt. These days they probably say, Kirk, why don't you take a couple of years off? No, get out there and play. I mean, that's what I say is like at least Sam took the hits. At least Sam was out there playing. I don't even, is Darisaw even traveling with the team? Is he on the sidelines? Like, no. This is what it's same JJ McCarthy. Everyone wants to talk about his hair, his flow. I want to see his arm. Like maybe he should be ready to go. This is all hands on deck. When you're that close to home field through the whole thing, and you got guys standing around, and now they got to go on the road 3 times on the road versus 2 times at home. That's simple math. And KOC, you should have changed up the plan. You should have seen what was happening and said, all right, now it's going to be screens. Now we're going to roll them out. Why can't you roll them out?
Boy, Randy just barbecued like 5 guys, including 2 guys with devastating. I'm curious what the dud stable is going to be here, Randy.
Stages of Vikings grief is what Randy's processing.
I should have had a week off. We all should have had a week off. Now I have to miss bowling on Monday. I mean, the whole thing was avoidable. That's the worst part. Ginkgo, you hang on to that. Do the music. I'm ready to unload.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And to Randy's point, Vikings have now ruined people's schedules. Okay, Monday night you got your social events.
Park Tavern, the game's on, and you can bowl.
That's not where the league is.
I'll move it.
Maybe it should be at Park Tavern in St. Louis
Park, corner of Highway 7, Louisiana Avenue South. Randy, I'll come see ya.
We went to this is a dud stable, unfortunately, and we went over 2 months, almost 3 months, without even saying the word dud. And now I got to say it a lot, and that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it is sad. Yeah, but here we go. This is the Week 18 dud stable. Randy Vikes 69.
This is the stable that you better be listening, guys. You like hearing the word stud next to your name. This one better light a fire under your ass because you're gonna hear the word dud. This is gonna start with a guy who all year long everyone said he figured it out, turned it around. He's going to resurrect his career. We're going to back up the truck and give him the jack. Not anymore. You just cost yourself a lot of money, Sam Darnold. A lot of money. Because when the lights were bright, I don't care how bad your line was, you took throws that you made all year long. That little back corner fade, just drop it in there. Nope. He sailed it. Threw it like Josh Freeman out of the stadium. Sam Darnold, look in the mirror. And you don't turn this around quick, it's going to be over for you. You won't even get a job next year. But this week, you're a dud.
Tough to disagree.
Get it out, Randy. Get it out.
Christian Darisaw, you hurt your knee. Fine. You're in charge of your own life. The doctors, they don't run your life. I go to the doctor. They say, Randy, cut back on the carbs. Cut back on beer. Tell him to kiss my ass. I tell him I'm going to live my.
What? No,
I'm going to live my
Randy,
own life.
We want
I'm
you
gonna live-
around for the long term. You
I
should
tell him to live-
listen to your
It's
doctor.
his life.
Christian,
He's right.
you live your own life, Christian. You want to play for a contender? You're never going to be closer right now. They're on what they call the doorstep. So Christian Darisaw, go knock on that office and say, Quezzy, KOC, I want to play. And if you don't, you're a dud.
Darisaw, soft, SAWFT, soft.
TJ Hawkinson.
Randy
TJ
goes
Hawkinson, I know you got blown up by that cheap hit, and that's in the back of your head, but you got what they call T-Rex arms. You went over the middle, and you know Sam puts it just maybe a touch high. That's where you're supposed to go get it.
Yeah.
You go get it and pull it down. You do. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You got a lot of money. You get paid a lot of money, TJ, to go get it and pull it down and get those big first downs. And what do? You get your little T-Rex arms, your little lobster claws. They can't even handle it. You're too afraid to get hit, and then you drop the ball. You know, you can nurse your little injuries in the offseason, and the way you played last week, you're going to be nursing them sooner than later because you're a dud.
Oh, I love
Wow.
this.
Wow.
This is great. Tell him, Randy.
Well, here's another one. I don't know what I could do, though. I could do the whole thing, but I got to do one more. I'm so sick of this guy. KOC, I thought I was ready to give you a lifetime contract. And then you go out there and you let our guy get blitzed over and over and over again, and you don't roll him out. You don't roll him out. You don't let him run a little bit. I know he doesn't have the legs that JJ is going to have next year, but he's got a little bit of hustle in him. He's got a little bit of getaway in him. And you didn't roll him out. You didn't run any screens. You just kept sitting back there looking for the deep shot, trying to get something big. Well, you got nothing. You got nothing, KOC. So KOC, you're on my list too, and you didn't pivot. You didn't adjust, and you're a dud. Will Reichert, what happened to you? You came out of college, and everyone was snug. They called him Big Thrill, Will the Thrill. He got a big leg. He's not afraid to use it. Now he's yanking stuff. He's pushing stuff. And that kickoff, that's inexcusable.
Amen.
You can't do that in that situation.
No,
you
not
didn't
in
do that
the National Football League.
You didn't do that at Alabama. How come you do it now? Now when the lights are bright, you yank one, you shank one. Will, look in the mirror, because we still know his number. We still know how to get a hold of JP Romo. We could. Maybe we should. You know, go in, you figure it out and show something. Because right now you're a dud.
Yeah,
And finally,
I agree. I'm calling John Parker.
He's not done yet. He's still rolling.
And finally,
Oh, God.
Randy?
none of this would have happened. We would have won the game if it wasn't for an amazing game plan. From a guy who I can't hate him because he's a football man. And someone said after the game, said looks like he has a dip in. I guarantee you he has a dip in. He probably has two.
Those bottom teeth, by the way, are
They're not.
man.
probably got
those
a
about to give way to those dips pretty soon.
Upper decker, lower decker. He's got them both rocking in the whole game, and he guts it too because he's a man, and that's Dan Campbell. Dan, I wish you were our coach. Oh wow! But mostly, I wish you were my friend.
Randy,
Because-
dude, come on.
You're a guy.
Randy, don't embarrass yourself.
You're a guy who football, and I know you can put it away with the best of them. We would have a kick-ass time.
We would.
And the only thing I'd be more happy about than us making it to the Super Bowl is if we can't make it, it might as well be you, because you've earned it, and you're an old school guy, and you're not afraid to get in someone's face and be a tough customer. So KOC, take a little look at Dan Campbell.
Randy.
Take a little look at the way he coaches, the way he pushes his guys,
I'm concerned.
because he's a man's man, and he's a stud.
Randy, this is
That was really embarrassing for him.
is he? He's gone. He's gone.
He started crying like a month and a half ago, right?
I think he's cried like maybe 3 times this
I think
season.
we got a note
And
from
all of them are tied to Dan Campbell in some way.
I think we got a note. No, he started crying after like the Rams loss or something.
I mean,
I think we got a note from a listener expressing concern that he was spiraling.
Yeah, I have that same concern as well. But he continues to answer the bell every week.
Right,
Hits us
He does,
up.
but
Do you think Dan Campbell goes bowling on Monday? The only bowling Dan Campbell's going to do is on February 9th. It's, at this rate.
he could be in a Tuesday league. Could see him in a Tuesday league.
I don't think so. I think Kirk Cousins may be on it in a Tuesday league, but not Dan Campbell.
At night, gets done with work. A little pre-scout.
So there's your dud stable right there. Only the third dud stable of the year.
He did not take that well. That was the 7 stages of Vikings grief playing out right there. I'm telling you.
Hadn't thought of the Christian Darrisaw is soft for not coming back from his torn up knee injury angle, but
No.
Yep.
I'm glad Randy had the grapefruits to address something to force an uncomfortable conversation right there.
Yep.
Yeah, you got plenty of time in the off season. Yeah, doctors, they're just recommending things.
Well, he also said that J.J. McCarthy should be available to play.
Yeah, well, maybe he should have got the short-term surgery. Maybe he shouldn't have been so selfish.
The last time I looked, I bet he weighs about 170 right now, if that.
He does look a little lighter.
Like, people thought that picture that with the great flow was not him because he's lost so much weight in his face.
They've subbed him out.
Judd, if you would have said, "Hey, that's a healthy scratch from the World Juniors team," or is that JJ McCarthy? Which one would you have picked?
Well,
I think he looks like a hockey player. He looks like he was
does
a,
have the hockey.
and he
feel.
was
looks like a
hockey
hockey player.
And he was.
Yeah.
And he was a hockey player. Yes.
He was a hockey player, but he is I don't know if they purposely told him or had him drop weight to help the knee out or what, but he's definitely dropped significant weight. He's going to have to put it back on too, or else he won't be a stud.
All right, tomorrow, write that down. Predictions are back.
We're back.
Okay, we have.
We're back.
They
I don't know where they went.
They went away for the holidays, schedules and whatnot, but they are back for the stretch run here. One more month left in the Write That Down season. Excited to rock and roll. And then Thursday's on the horizon, Feedback Friday. So the week rolls on here, despite the Vikings sky falling in Week 18. Vikings and Rams on the horizon. All right, that's Judd. That's Dex. I'm Phil. This is Purple Daily. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.